Episode 3. Every family has secrets. Some just call it loyalty. But here's the question nobody actually asks. Not why does a family keep a secret, but why do they start to protect the secret itself? Why does the silence move from being a rule to being something that feels almost holy? Why do people defend the silence more fiercely than they ever defended the people the silence was actually hurting? In our last conversation, we looked at the difference between privacy and enforced silence. Today, we have to look at what happens when that silence stops being a rule and starts being treated like a religion. When silence becomes sacred. Silence doesn't become sacred overnight. It happens in layers. First, something happens that the family cannot face. So silence is chosen as the response. Then that silence is repeated. Every time a subject is avoided, the silence is reinforced. Then the silence is taught. You learn through reaction and a specific kind of coldness that this is how things are done here. And then the silence is inherited. It gets passed down until people are carrying it without even knowing what they're carrying or why. By the time it reaches a new generation, it isn't a choice anymore. It's just the culture of the house. It becomes the way this family is. When a family defends its silence, they aren't actually defending the fact of the secret. They're defending the story. They're protecting the image of the family in the community. They're protecting a relationship that would not survive the truth. They're protecting a person whose entire authority depends on that story staying intact. They're protecting the belief that they are a good family, and in their minds, good families don't have these things. The silence isn't protecting the truth. It's protecting a version of the past that people have built their entire present around. And stories, once you've lived inside them long enough, start to feel more real than what actually happened. When silence becomes sacred, anyone who asks a question or names a truth isn't seen as a seeker. They're perceived as a threat. Suddenly, there are labels for people who won't stay quiet. The one who is stirring things up, the one who can't let the past be the past, the one who was always difficult. You may have even been told, if you love us, you'll let this go. The family doesn't do this because they are monsters. They do it out of survival because that silence has become load bearing. If you remove it, the whole structure shakes. But just because the system is shaking doesn't mean you are doing something wrong. It means the system was built on a foundation that couldn't handle the weight of the truth. You aren't destroying the family. You are simply refusing to be the pillar that holds up a lie. Speaking is how you find the exit. Now we have to go inside. We have to look at the internal cost of living in a system like this. In our next conversation, at the moment of recognition, into the room where all of this lives, we talk about the person who carries it, the one who became the keeper. Here's your affirmation. Say it aloud if you can, quietly if you must, let it land somewhere in you. I refuse to mistake my compliance for my character. I am not a betrayer for having eyes to see and a heart that remembers. The silence in my family was a cage, not a sanctuary. I am choosing the uncomfortable light of truth over the comfortable darkness of a lie. I am whole, even when I am honest. Stay with me. The series continues. This conversation isn't over yet.